Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are heading back to Germany once again, home of some great traditional beers, but this time we are going to head to Franconia once again, that very famous beer region in the north of Bavaria. Something like 350 breweries up there, which makes it the highest density of breweries per head of population in the world actually. And for this one we're going to go to a little town called Memmelsdorf, which is just to the northeast of Bamberg. Bamberg as well is just to the northeast of Nuremberg, which is probably the biggest and most well-known city in that part of Germany, of course. But for this one, we're going to visit a brewery called Hummel, and we're having a taste of their Räucherator. So this one comes in at 8.1%, and it is a smoked Doppelbock. So if you've watched the channel before, you will know that my two kind of favourite German beer styles, if you like, are the Doppelbocks and the Rauch beers. It was the Rauch beers that really got me into beer generally in the first place, and it was my good friend Daniel, who lives in Bamberg. He gave me this beer, so a huge thank you to Daniel for that. But it was Daniel who actually got me into beers with the likes of Schlenkerla and things like that, and of course it expanded from there into Doppelbocks with things like the Celebrator from Eyinger and stuff like that. So this beer is a combination of two of my favourite German beer styles. I'm really looking forward to it, and as I said, a huge thank you to Daniel for giving me this one. This brewery, of course, in Franconia seems to be very highly rated actually. The quality of the beers from these guys is really respected actually. If you look at this beer on Rate Beer, it has something, I think it was a 94 overall it has, and then a 96 within the smoked style, so it should be a really good beer. Their other beers as well are very highly rated, and hopefully I can review some more of those for you in the fairly near future. I do need to get back to Bamberg and visit Daniel again at some point, because it's a region, you know, it's somewhere in Germany that I absolutely adore. But yeah, that's for the moment. Let's get on to the actual beer review itself. I'm reminiscing about Germany a little bit too much. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Hummel. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. Like I said, a huge thank you to Daniel for this beer, and also thank you to the guys at Brauerei Hummel for giving me the information on the brewery. So like I mentioned to you a minute ago, onto my brewery notes then, the brewery that is now called Brauerei Hummel was first mentioned back in 1556, and since 1846 it's belonged to the Hummel family. It's passed down through 5 different generations, but they're located in Memmelsdorf, just to the northeast of Bamberg in the Franconia region in northern Bavaria, and again Bamberg is just to the northeast of Nuremberg, which, like I say, is the sort of biggest city in that particular area of Germany. But the current owner of the brewery is Julius Hummel, who's a master brewer, and they've also got a second master brewer there as well, Georg, who is Julius's nephew, and he's basically the head of the other 3 brewers. I think the sort of title that you would probably give him is the head of production, but at the moment these guys are producing around 9,000 hectolitres of beer per year, and they've got 9 different kinds of beer that they produce. So they've got 10 kind of all year round beers, they've got 8 seasonals, and then they've also got a special beer that they produce every year, which is different all the time, which is quite cool. It is cool to see these kind of more traditional breweries, if you like, producing the sort of one-off beers. But they've got 2 bars as well. They've got their main one in Merkendorf, which is it's the kind of, I think Memmelsdorf is almost like a little district town of Merkendorf. I'm not sure exactly how it works in Germany. A lot of these kind of towns have kind of grown so much that they've just kind of merged together, but they've got a bar in Merkendorf, and they've also got another one in Laubend, which they were telling me is sort of, I think it's their kind of summer bar, if you like. I think it only opens up a few days out of the year, but they also have some kind of holiday apartments and things like that as well. And if you go on the website, you can see some pictures of their kind of hotel room holiday apartments that they have at the brewery, and you know, their restaurant looks very nice as well. Very traditional food, you know, schnitzels and all of these kind of things, and the interior, of course, is very traditional Bavarian, but it looks very nice. As I say, the quality of the beers that these guys are producing has been you know, is renowned, if you like. They are very well respected in the Bavarian and the Franconian beer scene, if you like, so definitely worth checking these guys out if you get a chance. And Daniel, of course, has pointed me in the direction of some really good Franconian beer in the past, so I'm sure this one will be no exception. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. Check out the brewery website in the description below. I'll put their Facebook page page in there as well. They seem to update their Facebook page fairly regularly, and of course it was through there that they gave me the information. But let's get on to actually tasting this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. There you can see the nice Brauerei Hummel symbol on this one, the 3 crowns, and there you can see the little bits of brewery equipment like the stirrers for the wort and things like that just kind of sticking out of the barrel. But this one's saying it's Memmelsdorfer, but Hummelbräu, yeah. Räucherator, this beer, Doppelbock, 8.1% ABV, but as I say, it's a smoked Doppelbock. There you can see on the top, there's the little top label. You can see, of course, brewed in accordance with the Reinheitsgebot von 1516. And yeah, Gebot. But yeah, nicely presented. Of course, there is the bottle cap on this one as well. You can see I'm just checking that the camera is focusing on that. But like I say, an 8.1% smoked Doppelbock. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting. I'm really quite interested to try this beer. Yeah, I was actually thinking, I'm sure when I got this beer, I was thinking on the bottle it said Werfendorf, and I couldn't find the brewery originally when I was searching for it, but then I found out when I actually just googled Hummelbräu, it was Merkendorf. But yeah, you can smell some of these lovely Rauch malts as you open up this beer. Normally, of course, you would drink this beer in one of the kind of dimpled mugs, the sort of German Steins, but I quite like having the Doppelbocks in the tulip glass because I find that it helps get some of the more complex aromas out, if you like. But yeah, there's a few little bits of sediment floating around in this one, some small particles, but of course that's maybe just because I've had it in the fridge for about a week actually. But you can see there's some nice there's a nice sort of dark ruby colour to this one. If you hold it up to the light, it is very dark and very ruby. There's a solid kind of half finger of a frothy, I would say sort of fawn coloured head on this one. If you sugar it up a little bit, it actually, that's kind of unusual. It actually, when it starts to form a little bit more, it looks a little bit more beige, but I would say a fawn colour is a good descriptor for the head. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. You can see there is tiny little bits of sediment just floating around in this one, but you know, it looks very nice, and you can smell these lovely Rauch malts coming out of the beer just as you move it around. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. You can see the head is just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer. It probably would retain a little bit better if I'd put it in the kind of dimpled sort of Stein mug sort of thing, but as I say, I like this glass for Doppelbocks because it makes you sip them a little bit more. But yeah, it has, when you smell this beer, it has that typical sort of Bamberg Rauch malt aroma to it. It's got that lovely kind of not barbecue, it's got that lovely roasted pork kind of meaty quality to it. There's definitely brown sugars in there. It's got that nice kind of toasty caramel note. There's not quite treacle or anything to this, it's just a nice sweet caramel to the beer, but it's the meaty notes that are really pushing their way out of this one. There's maybe a little bit of biscuit or something like that as well, and you can smell that there's a little touch of a bready quality to this beer as well. And I think there's a wee touch of you know, a woody, nutty aroma coming out of it too. The Doppelbocks are great, they're always quite complex. When you let the beer just settle a little bit, that's when you'll really notice. If you sugar it up and then let it settle, that's when you'll really notice the kind of bready and woody notes coming out of the beer, and the smokiness just kind of sits on top of it a little bit. But there's a little bit of red fruity note in there as well. I'm picking up a wee bit of a kind of, I want to say figgy, and maybe a slight raisiny note to it as well. But there's definitely a little bit of a figgy quality to this one, I think. But that's quite minimal. The focus of the aroma really is on, you know, the smoky side of things and the brown sugars and the bread and stuff like that. But you can smell there's a little bit of a noble hop quality to this one. You can smell a little bit of that kind of sweet, slightly sweet earthiness that you get from the likes of the Tettnanger and the Hallertau hops. You can really smell a little bit of that, and there's a little touch of grassiness too. But as I say, those are quite minimal. The earthiness is fairly easy to detect, but really the focus of the aroma for this one is definitely on the malts, as you would expect. So the Rauch malt is, you know, really prominent there, but you know, it's very pungent, and as I say, nice brown sugars, and they're quite toasted brown sugars, definitely a little bit of a bready quality, and then some woody and nutty notes kind of backing it up. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But this one I think is going to be a really, really interesting beer. So this one is the Räucherator from Hummel in Memmelsdorf, just to the northeast of Bamberg a little bit. Once again, thank you to Daniel for giving me this beer, and thank you to the guys at the brewery for giving me the information for the video. So let's get stuck into this one. Slange, Skål, Prost. My apologies, Prost. Not Proust, Germany, not the Netherlands. But that's lovely. That's a really, really nice beer. If you get the chance, have a go at this one. Yeah. The way this all goes together is really, really nice. The smoky characters is great. You know, I just love the sort of smoky in it, these Bamberg Rauch malts. It's just, you know, it's such a nostalgic kind of flavour for me. I really love it. So yeah, with this one, there's a little bit of a kind of brown bready quality there. That just blankets the middle of your palate, so you can feel that, just, you know, that forms the kind of linchpin of the beer, if you like. And on top of that, if you go right into the middle of your palate, there's a little bit of a nice kind of sweet caramel there, and you can feel that, and that just kind of spreads out as you go towards the sides of your palate. And the way that the smokiness comes out in this beer is quite interesting for me. You can definitely, there is an element of an almost woody character to this beer, just sort of blanketing the whole of your tongue. Like, it's almost like the whole malt base is just infused with this kind of woody quality, and then the smokiness just kind of sits on top of that. These nice meaty Rauch malt flavours just kind of sit on top of that, which is really nice. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how the flavours come out in this one. I like how everything just sits there. When you go further and further into the aftertaste, the nice meaty Rauch malts and a little bit of that woody quality, that's what's really just kind of lingering in the aftertaste of this beer. But everything in this beer just goes together really, really nicely, actually. That's what this beer's all about, and that's what I've always found the Doppelbock beers are about. It's all about how, you know, just how everything goes together. They're always just really, really nice. So like I say, the beer, you can feel the nice bready notes just blanketing the middle of your palate there. You can feel that just going right across the middle of your palate. On top of that, you can feel that woody quality. The beer is just almost infused with this slightly woody note, and then the Rauch malts are just kind of sitting on top of that. In the middle of the palate, I'm getting a nice sweet caramel note there. It's quite a toasted caramel, actually. And as you go further towards the front of the palate, I think the woody notes are coming out. They're just a little bit more prominent, and there's almost just a little bit of a kind of nutty character on top of that, which is really, really nice, actually. Everything in this beer just goes together like really nicely. This beer has pretty much everything you'd expect from the Doppelbock, but then it's just got this kind of smoky backbone to it. It's got a little bit more of a bready quality, I think, as well. I think there is a little touch of a breadiness to the beer, but that suits it really, really nicely, I think. But it's a beautiful beer. I'll say straight away with this one, I can see exactly why it's so highly rated on Rate Beer. You know, the 96 or 94 that it has on Rate Beer, you know, it's deserved. It's a great beer. I do hope that I can get out to the brewery at some point and just try it, and try it on tap, actually. I think that would be really cool to try this beer along with, you know, like a schnitzel and chips or something like that. I think that would be really, really cool. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. That kind of builds a good bridge between the sort of woody notes that the beer has, and as you come further forward, the earthiness spreads forward a little bit. It's that typical German noble earthiness. There's maybe a little touch of a herbal quality to it, but that's very, very minimal. And just as you get towards the front corners of the palate you can maybe pick up just a little bit of a floral character, and then round the very front curve of the tongue it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and of course just behind the front curve of the palate there, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those nice juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And it's quite interesting, this one actually. So for me, the fruity notes in this one, it's nice. I mean, I would say it's got a little bit of that candied red fruit flavour to it. Always reminds me of the little heart-shaped sweets in Haribo Star Mix, but there's a lot of there's probably a more juicy, slightly figgy note to this one, and you can pick up, there's a little touch of a raisiny sharpness to this one. When the beer comes in, you do get just a little touch of a raisiny sharpness, but then overall and generally, I would say that the fruity character in this one, it is a kind of candied strawberry sort of thing, if you like, but it does have that nice sort of figgy backbone to it. I mean, the beer itself is really nice, and the fruity quality that goes into the aftertaste, it just gives you a little bit more kind of complexity to the beer. I would say for me, mainly the fruity notes in this beer are quite figgy rather than anything else. But overall, like I say, it's a really beautiful beer, this one, and I'm glad that I got to try it. So a big thank you to Daniel for getting this beer to me. It really was quite cool to try this one. So yeah, with this beer, in terms of mouthfeel, mid-bodied, I'd definitely say it's mid-bodied. It's at the higher end of mid-bodied, right enough. Carbonation is very, very smooth. Again, that's typically what you expect of Franconian beer. And the mouthfeel overall is quite oily. Big, sweet, malty quality. It's balanced out a little bit by the sort of the smoky qualities. They smooth the sweetness out a little bit, but it's got a nice little bit of a kind of darker toasty sweetness to it, this beer. The hops are very, very smooth. There's no real kind of big bitterness to this beer at all. I mean, it's probably down somewhere about 20, maybe 30 IBUs at a push, something like that. It's definitely a more malt forward beer, which is what you would expect from a Doppelbock, and there's a nice little bit of a juicy kind of fruity quality to this beer as well. But overall, it's a beautiful, beautiful beer. Another great beer from Franconia. Not that you'd expect anything less. All the breweries there, to survive, basically, they've got to be really good at what they do, and these guys, like I say, are very highly regarded, and I can see why on the basis of this beer. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A really interesting beer. This is a smoked Doppelbock. It has everything you'd expect from a Doppelbock. You know, think like the Eyinger Celebrator or something like this, and just give it a little bit more of that kind of, pardon me, a little bit more of that kind of smoky character to it that you'd expect of the things like that. I guess if you compared this to the likes of the Urbock or the Eiche Doppelbock that you would get from Schlenkerla, it's quite a similar beer to that one actually, although it doesn't quite have the vanilla notes and things like that you get from the Eiche Doppelbock and Schlenkerla. But it's really cool to see that there are small breweries around Franconia that are producing beers of this quality. But really cool to review this one. So this was the Räucherator from Hummel in Memmelsdorf, just to the northeast of Bamberg. A really cool beer, and I'm very glad that I got to review this one for you. So yeah, let's leave it at that. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Hummel if you have visited them before. Hopefully I can get out there and try some of their beers. Make sure you check out all my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon with another beer review. So this was the Räucherator from Hummel in Memmelsdorf, just outside of Bamberg in Franconia, in the northern part of Bavaria in Germany. Until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Prost.